Welcome to the Ride With Us podcast, presented by the American Coaster Enthusiasts, the world's largest ride enthusiast organization dedicated to the appreciation, promotion, and preservation of roller coasters around the globe. So please keep your hands and feet inside the podcast at all times as we welcome in your host.
Hello, enthusiasts. It's your host, Jessica Gardner here. Have you registered for CoasterCon yet? Registration must be completed online by May 22nd, 2024. And this year, CoasterCon is in Northern California. Not only are we visiting California's Great America, Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, and Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, but the ACE Northern California Regional Rep Team has planned some great events around the big event. This team knows NorCal, so we asked them to please come on the podcast and talk with podcast correspondent Bob Randolph about all the great parks, large and small, that comprise this region. They talk Gilroy Gardens, Happy Hollow, Sonoma Train Town, Roaring Camp Railroad, and some of the other small parks and attractions that make this region special. Even if you're not attending CoasterCon this year, if you're ever planning a trip to Northern California, this episode will be your guide. After the group discussion, stick around to hear Bob Randolph speaking with Michael Fulcher, Director of Marketing and Operations from Gilroy Gardens, about the park's history, unique rides, and very special trees that make the park unique. But first, let's hear from ACE members Liz Tan, Robert Ingle, Paul Asente, and Brian Christensen.
It is almost time for CoasterCon 46. I know you're excited about it. We're all excited about it, and we can't wait to see you in Northern California. Matter of fact, I have with us our regional rep from Northern California, Liz Tan, Brian Christensen, Paul Asente, and Robert Ingle, who are all assistant regional reps in the Northern California area. Everybody, hello. How are you?
Hello, hello.
Hello, Bob.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing great.
All right. I tell you what, one by one, go ahead and introduce yourself. We'll start off with Liz. And Liz, tell us your favorite coaster, either in the area or just overall in general, if you want. It's up to you.
All right, you guys. I'm Liz Tan. I am proud to be your regional representative from ACE Northern California. My favorite ride here in Northern California is Gold Striker. Please find me during ERT. We will catch a ride, hopefully on Cart 1. If I have to travel outside the region, it is full throttle all day long. All
right. And Liz also is the one who does our show notes for the podcast. So, and Liz, a great job that you do on that. Let's jump over next. We'll go to Paul. You're up.
Hi, I'm Paul Asente. I have been an ACE member since 1993, and I grew up going to Cedar Point, starting when Blue Streak was the only coaster there. My favorite Bay Area coaster is Railblazer at Great America.
What about out of the area if you have to go?
Out of the area, I'll go way far away and go to Terran in Phantasialand.
All right. Yeah, that's a haul. Okay, there we go. Robert, we'll jump over to you next.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Robert Ingle. You might have heard me on the podcast before for the documentary that I'm working on, Legacy of Schwarzkopf. But besides that, I am also, like Bob mentioned, an assistant regional rep for Northern California. And it's tough to pick my favorite coaster in the region because we have three great parks. But like Liz, I'm going to have to go with Gold Striker. And outside the region, going to Florida for Velocicoaster. I cannot get enough of that ride.
All right. That's one that I have not been on yet. I've heard great things about it, so I need to get down there and do it.
Yes.
And we're going to say last, but certainly not least, Brian, you're up.
Hey, everybody. Nice to meet y'all. Here in Northern California, I am a NorCal native. I have been in this country, in this part of the region my entire life. And I am a fourth generation Californian, which is a rarity in this state. Grew up here riding coasters, and the first one that I have to say I rode was the Matterhorn bobsleds at Disneyland, and that holds a special place in my heart. But the first wooden coaster I ever rode was the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk's Giant Dipper, which just turned 100 years old. And that is still on top of my list. When anybody says, what's your favorite wooden coaster? I have to say the Santa Cruz Boardwalk. Absolutely, all the way. I've been a rep here in Northern California for quite some time and have been part of ACE for about 27 years.
Holy cow, that's a long time. So I appreciate all of the service that you've brought to Ace. So again, CoasterCon 46 we know is coming up in June, the 16th through the 21st. Going to be at 3 pretty good parks and parks. The only one that I have not been to is the Boardwalk. So California's Great America, Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, and Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. So all 3 locations, we're going to be there doing events at all kinds of things at those places. Liz, why don't you go ahead and give us kind of a rundown? What should we expect for somebody who maybe like me, believe it or not, I've never been to a CoasterCon. What should I expect when I head out? If I'm coming from, say, the East Coast, like I would be from here in Ohio, what should I expect?
You're going to expect an overwhelming week with 1,500 or so of your greatest friends, some of whom you've never met. At every turn, there's going to be an informal takeover. There'll be a themed ride where you can just gather and ride with someone. There's going to be a lounge where you can hang out and have some soda with your new friends. We're going to have a lot of great meals, and then ERT, of course, is the highlight of each event. So we're definitely looking forward to sharing our parks with everyone else who's coming out to see them.
Paul, we'll jump over to you for a minute. What is one of the things that I absolutely should not miss out of any of these parks? You don't have to pick a park specifically, but if I was going to these 3 parks, what's something that I should not miss? What is that must do for me?
I would say some of the traditional food items at the boardwalk and unusual food items at the boardwalk. So we have things like deep fried artichoke hearts. Artichokes are a big item grown around Santa Cruz. There's a spot where you can get hand dipped corn dogs made to order with specialty sausages. And there is a candy shop there that claims to be the people who invented chocolate-covered bacon.
All right. I like chocolate-covered bacon. That is a good bacon in general is good. Chocolate is good. Together, even better. Brian, we'll jump over to you for a minute because you're the native there and you kind of know the lay of the land. As somebody who has only been to Northern California once in my life, when I'm there and I'm at these parks, if I want to venture out, let's say I want to get something different that is not on the beaten path, what's something that I should not miss?
Well, in California, we have the uniqueness of a very diverse geography and climate. So you can, in the summertime, you could be at the coast in the 50-degree temperatures. It's a little wet, a little drizzly because we're not Southern California, we're northern. And then you can keep going inland a little bit and the temperature will go up another 10 degrees when you're on the side of the bay. And then it jumps another 10 degrees if you go to the suburbs on the outside. So this is a very diverse area. And the geography of the region also, reflects that. So for a lot of people who come to Northern California, I say get in your car and actually just explore, because even the wonderness that is San Francisco is not only thing that defines us. I mean, you get to the wine country up in Napa Valley, and there's a sense of natural beauty that region holds. And then you go down south in the Santa Cruz area, and you have a wonderful coastline that includes the California redwoods, and you can explore forests and nature in so many different ways. And we are called the Golden State, and it's not necessarily because gold was found here, but it was because the Spanish monks named it that because the hills here are gold. We have green hills in the winter, but then we have yellow hills in the summertime. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful place to drive around, even if you're just coming in between the 2 theme parks. Stop and smell the poppies is what I say.
Nothing wrong with that. That's always a good thing, especially when you can see just some of the natural beauty just by driving around. Don't even have to get out of your car for that. All right. So as somebody coming again from the East Coast, and that's how we're going to kind of focus everything here for, somebody who's a first timer coming to Northern California, just real quick, Robert, what do I need to pack? I mean, I'm bringing shorts and my sunscreen and, maybe a good pair of shoes. Am I missing anything in there? Some T-shirts? What else do I need?
I mean, I think you got it mostly covered, but yeah, definitely bring sandals if you're into that, shorts, shirts, T-shirts, stuff that will keep you cool, because during June, it does get warm during the day. It'll reach up to sometimes the mid 90s. But the thing to definitely do not forget is bring a light jacket because sometimes the bay breeze will come in and it can actually get cold at nighttime. And you'll definitely want that at Santa Cruz when you're taking those night rides on Giant Dipper.
All right, that's good information to have. It's good to know to pack that light jacket because you don't always think about that. I mean, I think California, I think that it's going to be warm. You know, it's not the gray that we have here in Ohio 24/7. You're going to have some nice weather. Liz, you are a big fan of California's Great America, and that is kind of where everything kicks off. So what is your... you said Gold Striker, but I mean, as I'm coming in and saying, man, I've really got to hit this. I cannot leave without hitting either this coaster or flat ride. What is that?
I think that's a tough call. I think a lot of people are going to say it's Flight Deck or Railblazer. What do you guys think? Am I on track with that? For me, it's always Gold Striker every day of the week, but now and again, there's a special place in my heart for Demon. And I believe Paul has a little announcement to share about Demon with the group.
Anybody who can make riding the Demon be their 666th coaster, take a picture of it and tag us, it's NorCal 666, and we will have a special prize for you.
Ooh, a special prize. Any hints as to what that might be?
It is a secret.
So, all right, let's move on to CoasterCon. We kind of got some of the stuff that I need to know about coming to the Northern California area. And, you know, again, we're kicking off everything at California's Great America on Sunday, June the 16th. That's when CoasterCon starts. Liz, what should we expect in the way of events, and what kind of, you know, if I wanted to get involved at the last minute, you know, what can I do?
Sure. And a lot of this is handled at the national level. So we're coming in to handle the more local parts. We do want to make sure that everybody listening and everybody coming to con knows that there are a lot of great local folks who are going to be in the parks during the week. We're going to be ready to answer your questions. If you need first aid, if you have an issue, if there's something, you know, unique that you need to deal with while you're in the park, find us. We believe we'll have some sort of a special badge on our badges that indicates that we're local, but we are very accessible. We are here for you.
I'll step in and say something real quick on that topic. When I first started going to coaster cons back in the 90s, I was going to these parks because they were new parks for me, and I only wanted to really get into the attractions. I wanted to ride the special rides. I wanted to ride all the roller coasters, check them off of my bucket list, and that was my main focus whenever I go to the coaster con. It was like traveling somewhere new and experiencing all that the parks had to offer. What I have discovered over the last decade is that my desire for going to CoasterCon is not necessarily always about the roller coasters anymore. I have grown to become friends with so many people in so many states that it's like a homecoming, you might say, or a family reunion of sorts. It's like the people are now the main reason why CoasterCon is so important for me, because there is a family aspect that CoasterCon does for ACE. It just brings everybody together with all their crazy, wacky personalities and everything, because you feel like, oh, I'm not the only coaster nerd out there. There's there's a whole sea of them. And so it brings that family aspect together, and it just makes the whole event so much more worthwhile. So sometimes the parks kind of take on a different meaning as far as the attractions and all the events that they get going on, because it's a little bit more than just roller coasters.
You know, Bob, my favorite part of CoasterCon last year, I was working from Dollywood because I didn't have a day off. So I sat in the lounge and I was there with my laptop doing stuff after we'd had a great morning of VRT. And I'd say no less than 8 people came up to me randomly to tell me their favorite very particular thing about a different coaster from around the world. And I was like, I am here for this. This is absolutely what we're here to celebrate, is everyone's great love of these parks and these coasters. So I'm looking forward to hearing more of that this year. So if you find me in a park, please tell me what you love about your home park or your favorite ride. We're here for it. But we kind of become a family in that week. So I'm really looking forward to sharing our local home here with folks from around the country and around the globe.
And I know a lot of folks are, you know, anxious to go and see what's there and see what you've been enjoying all of these years. So you mentioned earlier, Liz, that, you're handling some things on the local level. National is obviously taking care of CoasterCon. So what is your roles as the rep and the assistant reps? What is your role in CoasterCon this year?
Sure. So far, the biggest thing we've done was the write-up of each park that talks about the different rides and the historical nature of some of the rides. We had to put that together. And as a team, I was wowed by everybody's contribution. I want to shout out to Paul for his historical knowledge of all of our local parks, because if you read through that document, it is on the CoasterCon event page. It goes in depth about all of our parks. And I have to tell you, we almost held up publishing it because Paul needed to know what the name of Snoopy's space race was on opening day at Great America. And I'm pleased to tell you that he did find that. So some great stuff to share. So that's been our biggest deliverable so far. But the next thing we've moved into is the Midway Olympics, and Brian and Paul handling a lot of that. If you've been part of this event in the past, you get to play all the Midway games you want, and we keep score, and the winners will get some prizes. So that's definitely the area where we're going to be needing the most volunteers. That's going to happen at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk on Thursday of CoasterCon, and it will definitely be a lot of fun.
Sounds like it'll be a lot of fun. What about maybe some pre-con events that you guys might be doing?
Well, we've got some great stuff happening there. I'm pleased to tell you that we have forged a relationship with a tiny local park that you probably haven't heard of. It is called Happy Hollow Park and Zoo, and all of the children of San Jose up going there and riding there's a lot of kiddie rides. There's a small zoo, but what makes it special for us here at ACE is it has not one, but 2 aero rides. And Robert, would you like to share a little bit about those 2 rides?
Yeah, of course. So Happy Hollow, like Liz mentioned, is a unique small family park in San Jose. It actually opened up in the early 60s. When it opened, it featured 3 aero rides. 2 of the aero rides were first of their kind, like very first aero rides ever made. One was a carousel, and the other was a mini putt-putt attraction. Then the third ride, which, like Liz also mentioned, I think every kid in San Jose has a picture with, is Danny the Dragon. Yes. He's pretty much an unofficial, official icon of San Jose, I would say. I don't want to give all the details of the aero rides because I plan on doing a little tour during the pre-con event, so have to be sure to come check that out.
But these are some of Aero's very first things that they ever did.
Their very first rides.
That would be very cool to see because, again, Aero, so legendary, for what they've done for coasters. We owe a lot to Aero. And just a little side note, if you have not seen the legacy of Aero development, if you've not seen that documentary, look it up and check it out because, again, it was very informative. I learned a lot by watching it because you think you know Aero, but you really kind of you don't until you watch this. So it'd be very cool to see the stuff that Aero started off with. Very cool indeed. All right, so what other things do we need to know for maybe either first time CoasterCon attendees or maybe just first time to Northern California?
So one thing I think people should think about is there's another small park in addition to the 2 parks that we're having our events at on the Saturday before CoasterCon. There is another small park about half an hour drive from Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. So if people want to take a little bit of time out in that afternoon, it's a really easy drive. It's called Sonoma Train Town. It's free admission, and they have a family, I wouldn't say super kiddie, but a family-sized miler coaster there.
All right, so another credit to add. Absolutely. All about the coaster credits. That's what it's all about.
Sure, anyone counting coaster credits will help you find some extra.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with finding a few extra credits in there along the way. Well, another park that's in the area, and Gilroy Gardens. They're in the garlic capital of the world. I would expect them to have maybe some garlic food there. Would that be correct?
Oh,
Their mascot is a garlic bulb. So he walks around and talks and greets people and sells plushies of himself. Yeah, there is some garlic offerings there at the park.
Well, that's good. No vampires that way, right?
Only at Halloween.
Only on.
Yeah, he comes out to the boo train.
And they have a lot of horticultural themed flat rides there that are really charming and that you won't find anywhere else. My personal favorite is the mushroom swing, which is a chair swing, but which is actually the most intense chair swing I have ever ridden. So that is something to make sure that if you go to Gilroy Gardens, you don't miss.
And what is funny is, if you're on the podcast, obviously you can't see the video of everybody. But as soon as Paul said that, Liz, Robert, Brian all started nodding their heads like, yes, this is the most intense chair ride that you will ever be on in your entire life. Now I really have to go because I love chair rides to begin with. And if you're telling me that it's that intense, I want to do this. I've got to get there to check this out. All right, so we've kind of touched base on a lot of stuff. Liz, is there anything else that we need to address that you want folks to know as they're headed to your beautiful part of the country?
We definitely want to make sure people bring a hoodie or a light jacket for the evening. It's no joke. It becomes chilly here as soon as the sun goes down. So I want to reiterate that. But I want to encourage everybody to sign up. We have 2 great pre-con events at Happy Hollow in the morning and then Gilroy Gardens in the afternoon, the day before con starts. And I want to reiterate that these places are not full of thrill rides. You're not going to get knocked around a lot. So you'll be saving yourself for CoasterCon if you come to our events, but you will get to see really different and really unique slices of what we have to offer here in the Bay Area. And I wonder if we might just for a second chat about the trees at Gilroy Gardens. I just want to make sure we're mentioning it because it's such a unique thing. I mean, I don't think there's anything like it anywhere else.
It used to be a roadside attraction in the Santa Cruz area because Santa Cruz itself was a vacation destination for a lot of Bay Areans, in the 30s, 40s, and even the 50s. And that roadside attraction kind of fell slightly out of favor, post-war because a lot of people weren't making that drive for vacations there. They were going up to Lake Tahoe and other places. So the trees kind of needed a new home. And Michael Bonfante, he was a local business owner, had a small garden park that was a favorite of his and his employees to take respite from. And so they decided to import the trees to that location. And then they decided to turn that into a public theme park at the same time. So the trees became like a staple of the new home, you might say. And they kind of had a new birth. They got exposed to a whole new generation of people. And the park has done an amazing job of keeping these trees at their best. And they just are an absolutely cannot miss factor of going to that park.
All right. So one more thing that I absolutely have to get to see. That's fantastic because the more that I can see when I travel somewhere, the happier I am personally. I'm just one of those people that, I may be on vacation, but I do not rest. Like I'm on the go constantly. Anything else that we need to talk about? Paul, yes.
So I just like to remind people that when you're at the boardwalk, you're also at the beach. So the ocean is way too cold to go swimming in here in Northern California, but do plan on going out and wading around in the surf a little. The Santa Cruz Pier is right next to the boardwalk. You will definitely see California sea lions and maybe see sea otters. And at this time of the year, it is not unusual to see dolphins and whales in the water off the shore of Santa Cruz.
Oh, wow. That'll be very cool. It'd be a nice surprise for a few folks to go out there and see that. That would be very cool indeed. All right. You guys have just been a wealth of information. Brian, yeah.
I was just going to chime in to say Santa Cruz also has another factor. If there is a train that actually runs right to the boardwalk, I mean, literally is part of the boardwalk, and that train leaves and departs twice daily up into the mountains of Santa Cruz. It's only about a 20-minute ride, and it lands at a place called Roaring Camp Railroads where you could get a whole nother park added to your adventure. It doesn't have any roller coasters, but it does have a few train attractions there that you need to take in. And it's also that same location is side by side to a state park that has a beautiful, very large redwood trees on a flat level grade. So you can walk around those trees in about 15 minutes and get a really good sense of what Northern California has that no other place on the planet does. And then take that train right back to Santa Cruz and join everybody for the evening ERT. Don't miss this.
Oh, that sounds absolutely amazing. So not only do we have three great parks that we're going to, but all these other little great places that are there as well that really, they all sound like they are not miss parks. Somewhere that I absolutely need to go if I'm making this maybe my one trip to California in the next, 10 or so years or whatever the case may be. Lots to try and pack into a relatively short time frame overall, but still a lot of really cool, really a lot of can't miss stuff that I know I would like to go and see, and I think that I would enjoy, and hopefully those who are going to CoasterCon will enjoy. All right, so as we start to kind of wrap up things here, Liz, any last words for our folks going out to CoasterCon this year?
We cannot wait to see you, and I will include links to everything we've talked about today in our show notes. So check it out. If you have any questions, feel free to email us and we will help you get settled on your week here during CoasterCon. We look forward to seeing you.
All right, Liz, Paul, Robert, Brian, thank you all so much. A lot of good information. I think I know that I would be better served if maybe I will go. We'll just happen to see, because now you guys have kind of talked me into it. So
Yes.
Good.
at least
I'm
get
out a
out there
day
to,
early.
at least get out there to visit. So you've talked me into all of these places. CoasterCon 46 sounds like it's going to be a heck of a time. So again, thank you all for your time, and look forward to seeing you all very soon.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Before we know it, we're going to be descending upon Northern California for CoasterCon. The parks for this year's con are well known, but we would be remiss if we didn't also highlight some of the other places that you might want to break away and spend at least a few minutes here or there and get to know. Gilroy Gardens in Gilroy, California is one of those places. Gardens really doesn't cover it from a description. Today, I am joined by Michael Fulcher, Director of Marketing and Park Operations for Gilroy Gardens. Michael, thanks for being here today. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Good to have you. And let's start off a little bit because we want our CoasterCon attendees to visit you. Let's start real quick with the location of where you are in relationship to California's Great America and the Santa Cruz Boardwalk.
Sure thing. Yeah. So we are located in Gilroy, California, which is the southernmost part of the Bay Area. And we're about 30 minutes south of California's Great America and about 30 to 35 minutes away from the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk.
So kind of equidistant there almost.
Yep.
If memory serves me correct, Gilroy is known for garlic too, isn't it?
That's right. We are known as the garlic capital of the world. And for years, the city has hosted the Garlic Festival, which is relatively well known throughout the country and even the world. So that kind of put Gilroy on the map. But very few people know that there's a full-fledged theme park in Gilroy, California.
Right. And that's, as I was looking into the park, I need to come visit this place. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the history of Gilroy Gardens?
Sure. So our park was founded in the late 90s and construction started in the late 90s, and it opened for its inaugural season in 2001. It was founded, it was a dream from our founder and builder, Michael Bonfante, who owned a local grocery store chain. Those of us on the West Coast would know it as Nob Hill Foods. He was able to sell that grocery store chain and then dove headfirst into his dream of wanting to build a theme park. But part of his vision was not just to build a theme park, but was to build a horticultural-based theme park that had the mission of educating families and young children on the importance of trees, nature, and the role that they play in our lives and in our world.
And as I mentioned, Gardens doesn't even really begin to cover some of what you have there, and we'll touch base on some of the other stuff, but let's focus on the Gardens for just a minute, because there's a whole bunch of these things.
Throughout the park, there are what we call seven majestic gardens, and truthfully, they take up about half the footprint of the park. Each one of these gardens was meticulously, and we really, when I say meticulous, we mean like down to where are we going to place this shrub? Michael Bonfante, when he built the park, over 70% of the time was spent of where trees were going to go, where plants were going to go, where rocks were going to be placed. And a little bit of a fun fact, we have over 100,000 plants, trees, flowers spread throughout the 35-acre park. Not a single one of them was there when the park was built. All of them have been transplanted in with a design in mind. And so when I say meticulous, these gardens were no stone was left unturned when these gardens were designed.
Literally no stone was left unturned. And you said 35 acres. That's not very big for a park, is it?
No, it's not. 30. We definitely cram a lot. When you're talking about the gardens, we cram a lot into those 35 acres. We are. I haven't met a single person who's visited that says, "Wow, I've never seen a park like this." 90% of the park is shaded, which is wonderful in the summer because there's just that many trees.
And that is amazing because a lot of theme parks don't have that kind of shade when you're walking around, unless it's canopies or things of that nature. But to have all of that kind of natural shade, that is amazing.
Yep. In contrast to a traditional park, which has relatively little shade cover and is typically your midways are a blacktop, we have trees everywhere, and our midways are a nice light concrete. The park stays very cool even throughout the summer.
Wow, that is amazing. That is quite a feat to accomplish because most parks get very hot during the summer. Yep. A couple of gardens that you have there. You said there's 7 of them. A couple that you don't just really walk through either. I was noticing this on the website. The Monarch Garden, for one, with that monorail. That is very cool. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the Monarch Garden is a really special one that was built with the park because it's designed to mimic. It's a climate-controlled greenhouse, and it mimics the different levels of the rainforest. So you've got the canopy level, the ground level, the mid level, and as you experience, there's 3 ways to experience the Monarch Garden. You can ride our railroad through the bottom level. You can walk through the mid level, or as you mentioned, if you're going to explore the canopy level of the garden, you will take a monorail that takes you through the greenhouse.
That is really cool. I didn't see the train going through there, but that's very cool. Now, the Rainbow Garden, it's special as well because you can take a boat through that, right?
Yep. So this is your traditional round boat ride, but where a lot of people think, oh, round boat ride, it's a rapids ride, I'm going to get wet. Not at all with Rainbow Garden. Rainbow Garden is a flower garden that we take pride in on the multicolored flowers found in our area. And to experience this garden, you get on a round boat, but it's a very, very family-friendly, very gentle kind of coast through a nice lazy river almost sort of experience as you look at at all the flowers in Rainbow Garden.
That is really cool. And then the other one that's kind of unique, and I don't think I've ever seen this anywhere else, is you could do an antique car through one of them as well.
That's correct. Our South County Backroads Garden, it's actually a dual antique car ride, a dual track. So you've got our classic 50s cars and you've got our classic 1920s cars. You can choose which side of the track you want to ride. And it takes you through the South County Backroads Garden, which pays homage to the history of the Santa Clara County. And so in there, you'll find, again, a lot of local plants, a lot of local trees that you would normally find. But this garden really touches on Michael Bonfante's original vision of the park, which is nature and man can live in harmony. It doesn't need to be, let's mow down an entire garden and put a road, or vice versa, that we can't build a road through a beautiful forest. So with South County Gardens, you really see that come to life in that the ride actually is built around these tree fixtures. And as you coast through the car ride, you will see all of the trees, rocks, waterfall formations that we've built out there. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, and looking at the website, and I'm sure the website doesn't even begin to do these gardens justice. I mean, from what I've seen, it's absolutely gorgeous. But gardens aren't the only thing that you have there. What I found really interesting, and I've seen pictures of these on the internet. Every now and then you'll see something kind of strange pop up, and you'll see these trees that have grown in strange and odd ways. You guys have a whole bunch of those things there, don't you? The circus trees is what you call them. Tell me about those, because those are really amazing.
The circus trees are one of the pinnacle parts of visiting Gilroy Gardens. We are proud to call ourselves the home of the circus trees. They have a pretty crazy history. These trees were constructed in the 1910s and the 1920s by a man named Axel Erlandson. He figured out a way to take. He experimented with a lot of different trees, but he was able to figure out to take trees when they were a sapling, and he was able to get them to grow into all of these amazing shapes. What he did with these trees is he created what he called the tree circus. It was a little roadside attraction up in Scotts Valley, and you paid a dime, 10 cents to come through the gate, and you get to see all his creations and his circus trees. Now, unfortunately, when he passed away, he did not pass on his trade secret to anyone. To this day, to our knowledge, nobody can quite recreate the circus trees in the way that he was able to. So these trees were kind of forgotten about in Scotts Valley for close to 50 years before Michael Bonfante found them, contacted the estate that owned them at the time, and he said, "I want these in this theme park that I'm building. They're going to be perfect." And so when he was able to purchase those, it was a big operation to take multiple big rig trucks, pick up these trees, and drive them from Scotts Valley all the way over to Gilroy and to the park, Gilroy Gardens.
And there are 29 of these trees in existence. Am I correct in that?
It's a little fewer now. So of the original, and this is unfortunately, but of the original 55 that Axel Erlandson created, only 29 survived the journey to Gilroy Gardens. These are large trees, and moving them was no easy feat, and unfortunately, not all of them made it. Of the 29 that have been at the park for 20 years, we're now down to about 23 that are in the park that you're able to see. Now, most of those simply died of old age. These are slowly becoming attractions that are see them while they're here, because they're all nearing the end of their lives. So they are taken very well care of by our landscaping team and our volunteer docents that are present at Gilroy Gardens. But they are entering into their twilight years, and they're not going to be around forever. So we have about 23 that are in the park still able to see.
Well, out of what I've seen, the emblem one is my favorite that I've seen, and I would love to see it in person at some point.
That's definitely an impressive one and a popular one. And the flagship tree, and we use it on a lot. You'll definitely see it on our website, is what we call the basket tree. That is 9 sycamore trees grafted for a total of 84 times to create a basket weave formation. And these 9 trees have now become one living entity that we call the basket tree. That's definitely a can't miss.
Absolutely. I mean, that is amazing. The fact that somebody could actually do it. It's a shame that the knowledge was not passed on, because this is really cool. And if you've never seen anything like this, you have to.
Yeah, and a fun fact, because don't think that we haven't tried to recreate it. There's a fun fact: if you're walking through Monarch Garden, you can catch an attempt at a mini basket tree that Michael Bonfante did in 2005. And you can see just how difficult it was for Axel Erlandson to do what he did, because you can see even just 10 years, 15 years later from Michael Bonfante's attempt, that little basket tree has now grafted into one solid tree, and you see a couple of the twists and knots. But so that little secret there, you can catch that in the Monarch Garden.
So one of the little secrets about Gilroy Gardens. I love it. Absolutely. Now, with all the natural beauty that's here, and I mean, again, it's just, from what I've seen, it's just a phenomenal place to go. You might forget that there's actually a theme park embedded in this thing as well.
It's hidden.
You've got rides and all kinds of other stuff.
Yep. We have a total of 23 rides, many of them family friendly. We are a park geared towards young families, and we want to make sure, and with the mission of the park to educate young families and children, a lot of our rides are geared towards a family type experience. But you're correct. There are somewhere tucked in all these trees and gardens, there are rides.
And there are some water rides that are in there. And of course, we got to talk about what Acer's like. Roller coasters. You've got two of them there. You've got the Quicksilver Express. And of course, that would be, some new credits for our folks. And Timber Twister. Now, the Quicksilver Express, that is a Morgan mine train. Am I correct?
That is correct.
And that one's kind of a rare one, isn't it?
It is, from what we understand. It's one of the only Morgan mine trains that was created with this configuration and a track length of the length that it is. A lot of these mine trains are a lot shorter, but we have one of the longest ones, at least in California, and it zips through all of this ride specifically pays homage to the old mercury and quicksilver mines that were found in the area. And a little fun fact there, the trees and the flowers that are planted in there are meant to mimic the colors of the American flag, red, white, and blue. So even there's a type of tree in there that has almost a blue tinge leaf on it. And so it was created and designed to kind of mimic the American flag.
That is very cool. That's something that will be a treat to see. And then the Timber Twister, that's a family coaster for, obviously the family.
Yep, that's a Zaire Tivoli coaster, and it also does just like every other ride. It's designed as a rattlesnake, and it twists and turns through some trees there. It's a shorter ride. It's definitely this is a perfect one for if it's your child's first coaster. This is a perfect one. But it's definitely a family coaster.
All right. Well, fantastic. And of course, coasters are what we like. But of course, there's all the other stuff that's there too. It's a nice, relaxing day to be there, isn't it?
It is. Yep. It's a relaxing trip. We are a mellow, more slower paced theme park. You're not gonna hear roller coasters going everywhere. You're not gonna hear screaming all day long. It's very, very much so. You hear the breeze through the trees. You get a walk through our gardens, walk through the flowers. And we even have, in the last 5 years or so, have expanded even into water features and water attractions. So in those hot summer months, there's definitely places to cool off, and there's something for everyone.
Well, very cool indeed. This is now on my list of places that I need to go see.
We'll be glad to have you.
It's very high on the list. I've got a bucket list of places that I haven't been yet. I've been to a lot of parks, but this is one of them that is high on the list of places that I absolutely have to get to at some point. If nothing else, for the trees alone. Got to see those circus trees because those are incredibly cool. Yeah. Okay, so we covered pretty much everything that you have in the park. Is there anything, any kind of secret things? I mean, you've already kind of dropped two of them on us, but any kind of secret things that I need to know if I go to Gilroy Gardens? There's a couple things that we can definitely share with your audience that definitely makes the visit a little bit more streamlined and easier, and you wouldn't know if you were a first-time visitor. But certainly to expedite your entrance into the park, purchase your tickets and your parking online. Once you're in the park, even though we're a small park, there are wait times, especially in the summer, can get pretty long. A lot of people don't know that we actually offer, like other parks, we offer a fast lane program where you can bypass the line and you get a much quicker wait. And then an insider secret, especially with our members, is we do cabana rentals at our water park. And what's great, especially with young families, is it gives you a home base. You're not just stuck walking around the park all day. If you rent one of these cabanas in either of our water areas, it actually serves as a very central location home base where you can kind of hit every ride, enjoy the water parks. And those cabanas are shaded. They have fans, some have TVs, and they have a wait service. So you can actually have your food brought to you. So those three things would make your day so much better, a lot more expedited, then you go and search through all the gardens and you find all these really neat things that Michael Bonfante did when he created this park from his vision. Sounds good. Well, it's one of those places that has quickly become the go-to place for me on my bucket list of places that I want to go. There's an amazing history here. It's an amazing place to see. I know that our ACE members will enjoy it as they head off to CoasterCon and maybe look for that kind of relaxing day where they can get away with the family and just kind of take everything in. And that certainly seems like what Gilroy Gardens is to me.
Yep, that's correct. That's what we try to offer to our guests, and we do a pretty good job at it. So I would definitely look forward to any of your listeners that want to come out and pay us a visit. One other helpful thing that they're going to, especially your audience, is if they're interested in most of the stuff we talked about, we should probably tell them their first stop when they get into the park is to go to our Visit California Welcome Center. We actually have a certified Visit California Welcome Center in the park, which is full of all the tour guides, brochures, everything that they're going to need to find either the gardens, the circus trees, everything we talked about.
All right, fantastic. Michael Fulcher, the Director of Marketing and Park Operations for Gilroy Gardens. Again, looking forward to sending everybody out there. I look forward to getting out there myself at one point in time. Again, thanks for your time. Thanks for informing us about everything that Gilroy Gardens has to offer.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks again to Michael Fulcher from Gilroy Gardens and to our entire ACE NorCal regional rep team. And again, Acers, registration for CoasterCon is open until May 22nd, 2024. We'd love to see you there. We'd also love for you to subscribe to our podcast. Give us 5 stars if you can, rate and review. And if you have any questions, comments, or podcast episode pitches for us, please reach out to podcast@aceonline.org. And don't forget to check the website, ridewithace.com. And remember that ACE is everywhere you consume your social media. On Facebook, X, Threads, Pinterest, LinkedIn. Make sure you're subscribed to ACE's pages on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Discord. Follow ACE everywhere to stay on top of all the coaster and park news coming out and to hear what your ACE membership has to offer. Thanks for listening. Hope you get to ride a coaster today.
Ride With Us is produced by the American Coaster Enthusiasts, a registered 501c3 organization. Visit ridewithace.com for additional information, and we will see you at the parks.